One of Dubai's leading landlords. Anthony Taylor is head of real estate at Emirates ENBD Asset Management. They are the fund managers of Emirates ENBD, or ENBD Real Estate Investment Trust. Anthony, good to have you with us. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Richard. Good to be in the studio.
So the conversation was sparked yesterday by the guys from Better Homes, who were with us with their latest report. And what Richard, the boss, said was they've seen quite a significant reduction in residential rental leases. And his hypothesis was that people are staying put because rents are increasing and they don't want to get stung with higher rent if they move. What's your perspective as someone who owns a lot of residential real estate here in the city?
Yeah, I think that's a fair reflection of what's happening in the market. We've residential rental rates have certainly risen over the last 12 to 18 months. During the pandemic, it started picking up, and sort of post-pandemic, we've seen them rise even further. So if you are a tenant, you are protected by the rent caps that are in place, or the rental laws that are in place in Dubai. It might make sense for you to stay put and renew and have a smaller increase than moving, and then obviously take the full brunt of the market rates at the moment.
I'm looking at a couple of your residential buildings, and they're what you might call mid-market, maybe even affordable. Bingati Terraces in Dubai Silicon Oasis, an apartment block, and Remran residential towards the outskirts of the kind of Al Qudra corridor.
That's right.
In Dubai, in that kind of area. Occupancy rates are really, really strong at the moment, 96, 98% for both of those. Have you kept the rent stable? Have you had to drop the rents to fill those? Because that's one part of the market where there is quite a lot of supply.
There is, and that's a good question. You have to answer it about, well, when are we comparing it to? Have we dropped the rates compared to a year ago? No. We've actually probably tried to squeeze them up 1,000 or 2,000 per unit as the occupancy has reached near 100%. But have those rates dropped since 4 or 5 years ago? Absolutely. I mean, I did the calculation last night, knowing that we were coming on the show. Just the same occupancy rate for those same assets back in 2017, 2018 generated revenue about 30% higher than where we are today at full occupancy. So it still has a long way to go before that segment of the market is back at similar levels to where we were sort of pre-pandemic.
So one of the questions that we wanted answering, Brandy, wasn't it, was whether or not, well, I'm going to paraphrase what you were going to say, but essentially we're looking at the fact that we were getting messages in yesterday from people saying, I have stayed put, and yet my rent has still gone up 20%. Mm-hmm. And we were going, hang on, though, can you do that with the rental committee?
Are there rules?
Look, I've been in Dubai a long time now, and the one thing that I do need to give the Dubai Land Department and RERA credit for is they have remained consistent with their rental landlord and tenant rental laws. Since 2013, it hasn't changed. So for almost 10 years now, we've been playing in the same within the same rules, and there's a rental index calculator. And if you put those rents in as a tenant and it comes back that you're due a 5% increase, provided you're not in default and you're not changing the terms of your lease, that is the rent that you should be charged by the landlord. And we're in the business. We know all the tricks that are out there and what landlords are trying to do to increase rents and scare tenants into accepting higher increases. But the reality is the laws are in place to protect the tenants and protect both parties as well. So if someone's getting a 20% increase, it means that they are paying more than 40% below market. And in that instance, you could also argue that a 20% increase is probably justified if they are so far below market at a point in time. But
because we had Dominic wrote in yesterday, and he lives in a 3 to 4 bedroom villa in a kind of mid-market community here in Dubai. You might be able to guess which one it is, and his rent has gone up 20% this year. And we were thinking, you can't increase by 20%, can you? But actually, you can if the
market has gone up more than 40% on your current contractual rent, you can increase it by 20%. But it's a very unique situation. I wouldn't say that is the general norm in Dubai at the moment. If I look at our apartments, we're lucky if we're able to get 5% increase in the current environment from existing tenants. And to be honest, on most existing tenants at the moment, we're not pushing their rents up. What we are trying to do is when a new tenant comes in, achieve slightly higher rental on the building. So coming back to that point, I think maybe they might be getting squeezed a bit by the landlord. That certainly should be checking that calculator before agreeing to those increases.
What do we know about how often the calculator is updated, Andrew? A bit of an unfair question. I know you're not actually a RERA representative.
No, look, it's a very good question. And, early on when these laws came out, there was some sort of concerns that a very good building sitting next to a bad building in the same location, and you might be unfairly treated by the calculator. But I'll give RERA credit for, the one thing that they have improved on is getting those indices very accurate. And I look at what those rents are being stated in areas that we own buildings, and they're spot on. So we have no issue as a landlord playing within those guided market rates.
But if for example, you're renting a villa like Dominic is, let's say the rent, let's say he's paying 100,000 dirhams because he signed up a few years ago, and if the rental index says the going rate for that villa is 140 grand, then the landlord can't put it up to 140, but the landlord can give him a 20% increase.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And if there's any dispute around those numbers, or they have an issue with, as a tenant, you have concerns about what that market rate is, you are still able to approach RERA and query it. If that turns out to be the case, again, I think what we also need to be mindful of is landlords, are expected to benefit from a rising market as well, and tenants need to be protected. Like I say, what's been nice about operating in Dubai real estate is it's been very consistent for the last 10 years.
I think the thing people worry about, though, is the can of worms that they're going to open and how difficult and maybe expensive it's going to be to challenge the landlord.
Sure. Well, again, I'm not an expert in filing these cases, but from all accounts, it is a very well run process. A lot of it is done online now, initially at least. And it's not too expensive. I mean, you're not hiring lawyers to go and challenge in a court. You are just presenting the facts and getting a decision from RERA. So they are making it as seamless as possible. And obviously, tenants are allowed to stay put until resolved. So you're not going to get kicked out and have to challenge it.
My guess is that process might be more seamless if they're dealing with a professional landlord like yourselves, because you're dealing with professional managers and it's not particularly emotional. But if someone owns that one property and they really want the money or need the money, it's just a little bit more emotive if it's a landlord with just one or two properties.
It's true. And look, that's obviously a benefit of, like you say, renting from someone like ourselves and others out there who are diversified, who are not relying on a single asset for, generating income to often, service debt. If you look at it, interest rates are rising at the moment. So
10 seconds to go, Anthony.
I'm sure a lot of landlords are looking at their rent and trying to recover as much as they can to meet interest rate rises coming through at the moment.
Anthony Taylor, Head of Real Estate at Emirates ENBD Asset Management, the fund managers for ENBD Real Estate Investment Trust. Appreciate your time this morning.
Dubai Eye 103.8.
Join the conversation.